There are more than 50 peaks over 2,000 meters in height, deep gorges, precipitous slopes, caves, wild gorges, routes both difficult and easy. Like a huge balcony overlooking the Libyan and the Cretan seas, one even a great artist couldn't imagine. A mountainous block, 30 kilometers long and 25 kilometers wide. Each peak distinctive in form, color and character from those around it. Mountains that resemble ladders of rock between earth and sky. Grand mountains whose peaks are reached by no clear paths. Treeless, with jagged rocks and imposing cliffs, from whose bases immense fans of loose broken stone make the going difficult. No wonder both Greek and foreign mountaineers consider the White Mountains tough walking. Climbing them, you realize that it is their roughness that gives them their grandeur. The difficulty is matched by their magic and the pleasure they give you. From Horus Vakion to Anopolis, a journey through a sea of mountains. At every turn I am carried away by yet another wave of the stone sea. Undulating white rocks like overhanging foam crests. A vast austere landscape with sweeping lines. The only dark spot, an oak tree, far away on a bleached hillside. Words are weak to describe the White Mountains. The experience cannot be conveyed in words. The only way is by walking them, meeting them with persistence and determination. The White Mountains are a white wall, an orange cloud, a light blue sky. I began climbing to take in the unending beauty and to share the craving for the mountains, to have this experience for myself. Winter. A bit further up from Anopolis, we loaded ourselves with all the equipment and began walking in hard snow, starting the long ascent towards the highest peak, Pachnes, 2,454 meters. We camped at an altitude of 1,850 meters, with a night temperature of -5 degrees. A strong wind was tearing at my map. The compass and altimeter were frozen. My eyes wide open to the white dream. The closer to the peak, the less the sense of effort. Breathing eases its rhythm. Peace rules. No one talks, only the wind. A camera tries to record a land of gods. I don't know if it could manage. The return. Fog and sleet on the way down to the camp at Rousiers. Then we entered the big gully that leads down to Anopolis. That climbing on snow-covered Pachnes will stay engraved in white in my mind and soul. Another climbing route to the vast skywave of the White Mountains was from the shelter of Volikas to the peak of Spathi at an altitude of 2,054 meters. Behind us the Cretan Sea, ahead infinity. After 2.5 hours of climbing, we reached the summit. But wanting to see more, we pushed on into the high interior, a journey in space and time. We passed by the base of Mount Ayurpanevma, avoiding deep pits and gashes. It was the first time I had walked in this weird place. Myriads of peaks surrounded me. The bedrock varied in color from red to almost white and almost black. You have to stay at least a week in the White Mountains to appreciate them. To climb the 3 conical peaks of Soros, as well as the 2,400-meter Trocharis that challenge you to go on, in spite of the difficulties of this tortured terrain. And then the peaks of Vornelos, Anthropolithos, Sternes, and so many others, where every footstep is an exercise for the body and the soul. We spent the night at the shelter of Svorichtis, exhausted after the long day's climb. Southwest, the ridge of Zaranokephalas, tempting us to climb it the next day. All around us, ridges and clear views of the Cretan and the Libyan Sea. You never exhaust the pleasure of climbing, the awe. You have to experience it at least once in your life. To get close to it, very close, which is what I felt on the way back down. Marbles, limestone, dolomites, rocks that were formed millions of years ago. The mountain range is like a fist thrust through the earth, up into the sky. Geological forces really did raise these great blocks, and as they were raised, due to the water's resistance and the sheer weight of the mountains, grand gorges such as those of Samaria and Aradina were formed, as well as great caves such as Gorgothakas and Mavroskiadi. The National Park of Samaria, which has been characterized a biosphere reserve, has been awarded a European diploma, is protected by the Barcelona Treaty, and is characterized by its rich geomorphology and endemic flora. The White Mountains are not as white and empty as they seem. One Saturday morning before dawn, we set out on another route. We filled our flasks at Linoseli above Omolos. For 2 days walking, we needed 5 kilos of water each. Shepherds, herders with their animals, children, a priest greeted us, passed us, and were lost in the distance. So there is life up here. There's wildlife too. Wild goats, the Crete. This unique Cretan animal, very rare now, lives mainly here in the untrodden peaks. Although they say they cannot be captured, they pass quite close to us. We didn't disturb them, but kept going. Our path was on a steep uphill slope for many hours. We reached springs fed by melted snow. The shepherds appeared again. We put up our tents. A light breeze lulled us to sleep. The starlit sky covered us with its sheet until dawn. The sun woke us up, rising golden, glowing on the rocks. The map showed that the way led to 2 ruined castles. We followed the ridge of Papouras and sighted the castles, the first about 550 meters ahead of us, the second, better preserved, a bit further down. Around us, everywhere we went in the White Mountains, we came across innumerable flowers and trees, pines, cypresses, carobs, and cedars. Purple and yellow flowers, 30 species only to be found in the White Mountains. We took a break by the castles, then, after a good rest, began our journey to Ayerumeli. Stunning natural beauty, a rosy sunset, the sea blue in the distance. Numerous trails thread the White Mountains. One of the most popular starts at Laki, a beautiful village surrounded by olive trees and vineyards, built high on the slopes, commanding views of the snowy peaks. I walked through the legendary Strata ton Musorum, immortalized in old Rizitica songs, and reached the highest point, from where I enjoyed a panoramic view over the Omalos Plateau. In the middle of the plateau, which is roughly circular, lies the small village of Omalos. The road passes through the plateau and stops at the entrance to the famous gorge at Xyloskalo, where in the past there used to be a wooden staircase, from which the name Xyloskalo, the Greek word for wooden stairs, comes. One can stay at the guest house here, with its amazing views of the gorge and mountains. We didn't pass through the gorge that day. Instead, we took another road just before Xyloskalo, which led us up to the Kalegi shelter. At the shelter, located on the borders of the National Park of Samaria, we were hospitably welcomed and given the food, drink, and strength we needed to continue our walk the next day. The Greek Mountaineering Club of Hania has played a very important part in my life. On excursions, I experienced the friendship of fellow walkers and discovered some of the most astonishingly beautiful mountains, plains, and coastal landscapes of Western Crete. The club's history began in 1930, when the Hania branch of the Greek Mountaineering Association was established, with the aim of making known to the world the hidden treasures of our land. They were the first to cross the Samaria Gorge, and also the renowned gorges of Tripitis, Kladou, Elias, Aradina, Aierini, Imbro. Places of unique beauty became venues for their organized treks. Not just the mountains of Crete or Greece, but also the Alps, the Andes, Kilimanjaro, and the Himalayas. The White Mountains, though, are our soul, bringing man close to nature through all of his senses, which is what I experienced, and I will always feel grateful to them for this.